What is going on, everybody? I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today, what we're going to be doing is making another tier list for the 2022 season. We're about over the halfway mark. There's been a lot of roster changes and a lot of new things going on in the back scene of the scene. And then we obviously just had the CDL Pro-Am. So we're going to do an updated tier list video. I know I've made a few of these, but without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the video. So still rounding out the top of S tier, no matter what anyone says, I still have Atlanta FaZe. I think these guys have been the most consistent team all the way through the entirety of the season, even though they have just fell short to Optic. It seems like they basically handle business versus any team that they play. They never struggle in pool play. They never struggle in the qualifying matches. The only thing that they've struggled at so far and thus far into the year has been in the grand finals of back-to-back majors. And then obviously the CDL Pro-Am was more of a practice event for these guys. They went 3-0 in pools, and then they lost in a single elimination bracket in round 1 to Optic with a substitute in that game 5. But I still have FaZe kind of rounding out S tier, and I think rightfully so. They still deserve it, even though they just lost at the Pro-Am. I don't think this team sets back anywhere from there, and they're the only team that has yet to win a championship, but they also have the most consistent placings again thus far into the year. So they're going to round out the top of S tier for me. Following up right behind them, I have Optic. Optic's gone through some struggles lately. They played the CDL Pro-Am with General, and they most recently announced that they are going to be playing with Prolute through the online qualifying matches for Major 3. This team has continued to dominate with their original roster, but with Illy basically in his thumb right now, the issues that he's having, he is going to be stepping down and sitting out. And like I said, they're going to be playing with Prolute moving forward. So I still have a lot of confidence in this team. I think with their original roster, they are still a very S tier caliber team, and they definitely deserve it. They have been dominant so far this year. Even with their mishap at Major 2, I think through Major 3 and Major 4 and even going into champs, this team's going to continue to dominate and do well. And we wish Illy a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can get back to playing, because he's an absolute beast, and he definitely deserves to be playing at the top level and whatnot at 100%. So speedy recovery to him. But these two teams really for me are the only two S tier teams. I think all these other middle of the pack teams really can beat anyone, and I've said this multiple times in videos, but I still feel that way. I don't think any of these roster changes really put a team up there in that S tier caliber, but it did shake up some things for me for these new rosters, and I'm going to go ahead and round out the group of top, or I have A tier. I'll go ahead and start the group out there with the New York Subliners. Their newly formed roster, they basically took Neptune out and put Kismet in, and the Pro-Am, they looked incredible. These guys only lost a few maps throughout the entirety of the tournament. I know it was more of a practice land, but these guys looked great. With the addition of Paul X earlier into the year, and then adding Kismet in now, Krim and Hydra look to be very confident. Their new coaching staff and everything looks like they're doing great things over in New York. They really just look like a team for once, and it was really cool to see, just because these guys have struggled so much through the entirety of the year. For them to go 3-0 in the pool play, only dropping one map, and then going on to the winners bracket, whether it was single elimination or not, these guys look great. And it was, again, very cool to see them do so well. To go right behind it in New York, I actually have, this one may shock a lot of you, but I have the Florida Mutineers, man. I think Florida's starting to look really good. These guys have basically been competing with every top team that they've played. They took out Optic early on into Major 2, and if they don't get 5-3, came back on versus LAG, you guys are all sitting here maybe wondering what in the world happened to this team. But I have them sitting right behind New York. I think that these guys have kind of figured out this game. They've started to figure out their map pool a little bit and kind of get a better understanding of where to play these teams and kind of how to match up versus them really well. Awakening's been a beast all year long. Dave Patty, Skies, Vivid was kind of finding that form early on into the event. So I got Florida sitting up pretty high. Again, this isn't like number 1, 2, 3, and 4. These are just the A tier caliber teams, I think. And then there's really no order in the group. But I got the Boston Breach following at the end of Group A. I know they fell short to the LA Thieves at the CDL Pro-Am, but through the entirety of the year, I feel like they have looked pretty good, and they've been super consistent. They obviously have two new rookies in Capsidal and in Nero Poison. Then Methods and TJ have continued to do their thing, but these guys have looked great. They look good at the Pro-Am for the most part, and I know they fell early, but again, it was a single elimination bracket. I'm excited to see what they can kind of do through these next few qualifiers. They've really beat every team other than, I think, the Thieves and London. They played the Thieves once at that Pro-Am, but they really just fall short to the S tier teams. So I still have Boston rated pretty highly, and that's kind of going to round out the top of Group A for me. I think that most of these teams all deserve to be here. Obviously, things can change over the entirety of the year, but That's kind of where I got these guys placed right now. Then rounding out Group B, I have started off with LAG. I think LAG, obviously, they won Major 2. They looked really good. They go into the Pro-Am. They lose 3 series straight in pool play. And I know I keep saying it's a practice event, and it was. But these guys did not look the best. I think they only won 2 maps in the entire event. And I just worry about this team a little bit. Obviously, in Major 2, they went on to do some crazy stuff. They had that 11 gaming winning streak in Search and Destroy. To me, that's very hard to replicate. You're not always going to win 11 Search and Destroys straight, and I think that was a big reason of why they found so much success. Plus, I think the addition of the Volk was helping their respawn a little bit. I think they'll still be able to compete with the top teams, and they should be a solid team. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit of a drop-off in LAG over this Major 3 qualifiers and kind of moving into Major 3 as a whole. So coming up behind LAG and Group B, I actually have the Toronto Ultra. I think Ultra have kind of started to find a footing in the door with this roster. It looked like at the Pro-Am that they've been getting in the lab and kind of fixing some of their hardpoint issues. And everyone's always said if these guys can fix their hardpoint issues, I think they will be able to be a solid contending team for the entirety of the year. And it looked like they did at the Pro-Am. They looked a lot better, a lot more fluent, a lot more sound. I still don't think they're one of these top echelon teams by any means, but I think these guys can definitely compete, and if they will continue to improve that hard point through the remainder of the year, we can definitely see this team make a run at a tournament and potentially even win one of these. So I have them kind of sitting at this side of Group B, and then right behind them I have the LA Thieves. I think LA Thieves have obviously shown what they could do this last weekend in the Pro-Am, but they're still just kind of right there for me. It's going to take some time for them to kind of turn everything around. For me, I was worried that this team was basically making a band-aid fix with their roster. They were obviously making the role change, putting Kenny to a sub. I think they showed the capability of what they can do, but they also showed their weaknesses early on in the tournament versus New York. I can't wait to kind of watch these guys get some more reps and more tournament reps, I should say, through the Major 3 qualifiers, then heading into Major 3. Will this team be able to like fully turn it around from what was very, very rough start to the season and a very rough to Major 2. So I'm excited to watch these guys kind of battle it out. But that's going to be the end of Group B for me. Starting off at Group C, and this is strictly off of, again, the roster swaps and kind of things that I know from the back side of things. So I have the London Royal Ravens actually topping off Group C. I know you guys are probably all shocked and whatnot, but with the issues that Gizmo's been having, he hasn't been able to compete, and he's not going to be competing, from my understanding, at the Major 3 qualifiers or Major 3 for right now, or as little as we do know. But this team, they have their work cut out for them. I'm kind of worried about them, honestly. I don't know exactly what's going on the back side of things, but I know Trey Zero is switching to a sub, obviously because Harry is a main AR and he's their substitute. So they're putting Nasty to the flex role. And obviously Afro has been running the submachine gun the entire time. This team just has the work cut out for them. Like I said, they're switching roles. It's kind of a late point into the year where you're playing catch up, right? Like these guys are put in a weird spot where they have to literally, Trey is going from a main AR to a submachine gun, and I don't think that he can't do it or anything, but it's just a lot to take in as a team this late into the year. They're over the halfway point, and their scrims and practice needs to be taken very seriously for them to kind of be on the up and up and turn things around. So I have them at the top of Group C. Then following right up behind them, I actually have Seattle Surge. I think the Seattle Surge team is very, very good, but they just can't ever put anything together for us. So putting them on a tier list is super hard because these guys can go out there and beat FaZe and Optic, but then they can lose to any of the 3 through 12 teams. And that's shown at the Pro-Am. They literally went 0-3 in pools. They didn't even beat the amateur team StrikeX. And I think that I don't really know exactly where the problem stems. Maybe it's an inconsistency issue as a whole with the team or individual performances, but these guys need to be able to put it together through the remainder of the year, and I would be happy to bite my word that these guys can turn it around and find themselves in that A tier category if they can get some consistency in their gameplay. Then following or ending, I guess I'll have Minnesota at the end of Group C as well. I think with the roster change, they need some time, but I'm a little worried about this team as well. They dropped Major Maniac, their main AR, and they're kind of the similar as the Royal Ravens and LA Thieves, is where they're making these roster changes, but these players haven't been really running that role through the entirety of the games thus far. You got Priesta probably running the main AR, and then Attach following up behind him at the flex. Then you have Standy and Havoc, 2 submachine guns. I like the addition of Havoc. I just would have maybe liked to see this team make a 2-person swap, just because of I knew kind of how hard setting some of the roles were. Maybe entertain a change or something like that. But it is what it is. Here they are. I think this team could be a really good search and destroy team, and they need to be with the addition of Havoc, and then hopefully they can steal some respawns and be super competitive through Major 3. But I'm excited to see how they progress as a team, and that's why they are at the end of C for me. Then following at the bottom of the D tier, I had the Paris Legion, and this league is super competitive, so it's hard to put them down there, but I feel like it's only fair with the way they've kind of performed through all year long and even to this point. Yes, they did just make the group stage at the Pro-Am, but I know for these guys are not in a facility as a team. So Paris Legion, you guys need to get your players in a facility. They're playing from all over the world. Online, they have really struggled, especially Jimbo. Jimbo's been great on land, but online, I heard he's playing on a high ping from Canada. So I would like to see this team really get into a facility for the remainder of the year, because if not, I just feel like they're set up for failure. These guys are going to struggle on the online stage. They haven't looked good at all in any online qualifiers. I think going into the Major 3, if they were to struggle early in the qualifiers, that means they'll be put in the losers bracket early on into the tournament. And I don't know, man. I'm not high on trying to make a losers run every single tournament. I think you should give yourself a second chance if possible. So that's why they got these guys at the end of Group D. Obviously, they played well at the Pro-Am, but just the way that the season's set up, it's going to be very hard for this team to find success. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap up the CDL 2022 mid-season tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I feel like this one had some good hot takes in it. I can't lie to you guys. It was kind of a different video sitting here making it, but I think this is the most recent update, and I think we'll see a lot of these teams kind of start performing, and then some of those top teams that were after Major 2 kind of drop down. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to please smash that like button. Comment down below what other types of videos you guys would like to see. I hope you guys all have a fantastic rest of your day, and until the next video, I will catch you guys later.